This is World Talks on TVP World. I'm Aaron Darman. There are new reports tonight that Russia is planning an armed provocation against Poland, with American officials allegedly warning of the Kremlin's desire to test NATO's resolve. It comes amid similar fears in the Baltic states, including Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, as Vladimir Putin faces mounting pressure over Ukraine's strikes on his country's critical energy infrastructure. And here to break all of this down is Petras Auštrevičius, Lithuanian MP at Renew Europe. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to everybody.
I want to start with a simple question. How serious should these reports that we're hearing as we go to air be taken right now? I mean, do you believe Vladimir Putin is planning a major provocation?
I think we have to assume that Russia remains to be a major source of spreading instability all over its borders and globally. So that's why the increasing kind of burden and being stuck in Ukraine and no success whatsoever. I mean, in recent months at least, I think Russia is looking forward. I mean, to kind of impede certain instability around and to turn away staunchy supporters of Ukraine away from their cause. So that's why it's possible. I mean, we have to be vigilant and we have to be prepared and indeed in full cooperation as allies.
There's a real mix of opinion, I find, on NATO's eastern flank, comparing the different leaders I've spoken to, where there are those in the Baltic states who have long sought to dampen the kind of speculation that Russia could attack. Is that fair, or do you think that's naive?
You know, I don't think it might be as simple as direct attack. It could be a hybrid. It could be, drones used, and then, explanations might come that, well, I mean, it's not ours. I mean, meaning Russian. No, I mean, they're so-called Ukrainian or third countries somehow, which came into the airspace of the eastern flank countries. Or it might be, some provocations what Russians are never short of. I mean, they have enough of special service institutions. We have enough of people, experts on this, hundreds, thousands of them. I mean, every day they are thinking and working on special operations against third countries, us included. So that's why I think we have to consider each and every case and as I said, be prepared fully at any time.
You raise a really good point that it could be not an attack or full-scale attack, but actually an incursion or a provocation, because it brings me to my next question. If the Kremlin were to come over the border in any way, shape or form into NATO territory, are you confident that America would back up to help? Because the question is, of course, that threshold of response, right? What constitutes an attack? If Europe strikes back as well militarily, then there's concern it would be enough for all-out war. So where do you stand on that?
Well, I mean, taking all the recent, statements and expressions by highest top American politicians, I have no doubt that USA remains a very part of pan-European transatlantic security. They remain to be a committed partner, as we are. One for all and all for one. The principle apply. So that's why I believe we have to count on U.S. involvement if anything comes. In any case, we need certain strategic capabilities from USA, to deter and, if needed, I mean, to bring as much of possible damage on any potential aggressor.
Petras, is Article 5, this clause that says an attack on one is an attack on all, is it fit for purpose, or does NATO need to figure out some kind of a staged response mechanism, a symmetrical strategy, I don't know, that specifically is there in the event of an incursion or in the event of a provocation where it's not all or nothing?
You know, I think we have seen a certain change, probably, in a way of thinking of the alliance kind of capabilities or performance. If before, I mean, everybody relied on collective, meaning, not me, I mean, somebody else will come in support on the right time. But now I think we have to be ourselves, I mean, those countries which are mostly threatened or located on an eastern frontier, we have to be ourselves ready as much as possible for 100% and more. And in cooperation regionally with our allies in Europe, to respond firstly, and then to call for other partners to join us in repelling any hostile attacks. So that's why I think the principle first kind of national defense and then alliance assistance, to my mind, applies better now.
Now, Baltic leaders have today met in Berlin with Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Estonian President Kristen Michal pointed out that, quote, investing in deterrence today is far less expensive than paying for the consequences of aggression tomorrow. Is that the fine line NATO allies are treading now, figuring out how much defence cash is enough to stop Russia while still allowing, obviously, strong domestic spending?
Well, indeed, I think today's meeting, Baltic-German meeting, has a special meaning, a good messaging whatsoever. Indeed, well, the Baltics are in very lead what comes to the defense spending already for years. And we have a long-term commitment in this regard. We do not question any kind of next stage threshold, 5.5 or 6, if it will be needed. I mean, we will reach this threshold as soon as possible, and to share it with Germany, which. I appreciate recent German policy change getting more involved transatlantically, European and regionally, especially in the Baltics. We have in Lithuania the 45th Brigade of Germany to be located in full capacity very soon. There are things which have to be discussed among four as Baltics remain to be big buyers of German-made armament as well as military technologies, and we produce certain technologies which might be in interest of Germany. So that's why that's a cooperation on the right time and on the right point.
Do you expect NATO's summit next week to be some kind of a verification meeting, basically checking who has delivered on the defence spending commitments of last year and who's not? And do you think Moscow will be watching that closely?
Very closely. For Russia, it will be absolutely strategically important meeting. They will read each and every line, and they will analyze each and every single word pronounced in Ankara by allies, by top officials. And indeed, you rightly said, it's a kind of a verification summit. Well, commitments are taken. Now it's time to see who does what, where certain encouragement, promotion, or assistance is needed, because allies are all committed, but alliance is tested by the weakest point. So that's why we have to collectively reflect on the situation, and I hope will be no major disagreements whatsoever, that we have to invest into our defense in a long-term period.
Now, while I have you, Lithuania's parliamentary parties have agreed to lift a constitutional ban on nuclear weapons in foreign military bases. To come back in a way, all the way to my first question, does that show just how serious the threat of Russia is to the Baltics especially?
Well, partly so, exactly. So we are looking forward to each and every even legal provision which might be needed for us, to defend ourselves in times of need, and that's why this even a constitutional provision which for the time being forbids location of the nuclear weapons on our territory will be removed. I'm simply convinced about this. Will be a strong support among the parliamentary political parties. I'm sure it will be enough of votes. And then let's see what we can do, having kind of the umbrella protection by nuclear weapons, because more and more often we hear from Moscow, from top officials of Russia, a direct threat, to use nuclear weapons against its neighbors. So we have to respond, and we have to be ready.
Petras Auštrevičius, Lithuanian MP at Renew Europe, thank you so much for your time. A great pleasure.
Pleasure of mine.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. Do stay with us for more news and analysis. I'm Aaron Darman. Good night.